Support WrestleTalk!
Follow us on Twitter.
Who would have thought the people of Seattle loved basketball so much? They don't even have a team. Well, it seems like it's still a massive sore point that the Seattle Sonics left the city for Oklahoma where the wind blows, which fundamentally makes it difficult to play basketball. What were they thinking? Kevin Owens and Elias found this out hard way on Monday's Raw when an offhand comment about the team caused the crowd to erupt into a deafening chorus of boos that threatened to drown out the promo from KO and the crooner. It was one of the most remarkable and sustained reactions in the history of the show, and turned what would otherwise have been a run-of-the-mill promo into a really memorable moment. But it's not the first time a crowd response has overshadowed what was said on the mic, or even the action in the ring. I'm Fakidor Laurie Blake, and here are 10 WWE crowd reactions that got absolutely out of hand. Number 10, Hey BAYLEY. Hey BAYLEY. Hoo ha! I wanna know if you'll be my girl. Remember those days? Before the counselling sessions and the fear of kendo sticks? Back when BAYLEY was one of the most popular performers in all of WWE. And for some reason, she was dead popular with fans here in the UK. It all started at NXT TakeOver London when the crowd repurposed Bruce Channel's hit Hey Baby in a stroke of genius, changing one singular syllable to make a wrestling chant for the ages. By the time BAYLEY hit the main roster, her star had fallen slightly, but we Brits do not forget. We're like elephants. Mildly grey because we hardly get any sun. During a Raw segment with Charlotte Flair at the Hydro in Glasgow, Scotland, fans brought the chant back in force. The chants flustered Charlotte and cut her off every time she spoke. Even her declarations that the fans were rude only spurred them on further. They just wanted to know if BAYLEY would be their girl. WWE managed to salvage the segment as it was taped, but the full version of the chant lasted for several minutes. Number 9, the British Bulldog versus Shawn Michaels. We're staying in the UK because we're noisy pricks, apparently, and this time it's British Bulldog versus Shawn Michaels at One Night Only in Birmingham in September 1997. The match was Davey Boy Smith's first defence of the European title on home soil and was supposed to be a homecoming moment for him, as members of his family and many of his friends were in the crowd. Unfortunately for Smith, it was Michaels who picked up the victory, but it wasn't Michaels who really defeated the Bulldog. It was politics. Davey Boy had found himself caught in the Bret Hart, Vince McMahon, Shawn Michaels power struggle that was going on behind the scenes and more often than not on the screens, because Montreal was only really a few months away at this point, so it was just a power struggle. Vince had previously told Davey that he was going over, but changed his mind at the last minute, as preemptive damage limitation should contract talks with Bret Hart go awry, which, funnily enough, they did, so justified. Not really. As Smith initially thought he was picking up the win, he dedicated the match to his dying sister, but was unable to tell them of the change of plans, so when he passed out to Michaels' figure 4 leg lock, his sister naturally was left in floods of tears. The crowd also bloody hated it and were furious with Michaels lobbing rubbish into the ring and basically threatening to riot. All the while, Michaels played a perfect a-hole, strutting around the ring, taunting Smith's family. Brutal. Thankfully, things were calmed down before anything serious happened. Number 8, EC Dub, EC Dub. EC Dub. People always long for the glory days of wrestling, when the booking was smart and the action was good. Like back in 1995 when Mabel faced Savio Vega in the finals of the King of Ring tournament. Genius booking, pure gold. WWF at the time was very much a child-friendly product, but many older fans, or smart marks if you will, were fed up with the cartoon silliness they were being force-fed by Vince. The Philadelphia crowd hated this match so much, and the sight of Mabel lumbering around the ring after Vega like a cartoon villain, that they turned on the match, and then started chanting for local indie promotion ECW. It was so loud that Vince McMahon heard the chant and responded to them on commentary saying, "Listen to this." Vinnie Mac obviously didn't know what they were on about, but he soon found out and then entered into a working relationship with the promotion that lasted until it went out of business in 2001. The chant is yet to retire. Number 7, the countdown clock. I don't really know why this happened. Everything about this match says the crowd should have been into it. Dolph Ziggler versus Seth Rollins, 30-minute Iron Man match for the Intercontinental title. What What is not to like? Really, the problem is that Extreme Rules was a bit naff this year, and fans have been forced to sit through a load of old guff to get to this main event. And then they let WWE know by messing with this match. A clock had appeared on the Titantron that counted down the 30 minutes of the match, and then fans decided to count down the last 10 seconds of every minute like it was the Royal Rumble, complete with buzzer sound. Imagine that. Every time. 10 seconds. Backstage, Kevin Dunn reportedly lost it and then decided to pull the clock from the screen, which funnily enough made the fans even angrier. Thankfully, the clock then returned to the screen at the request of Rollins and Ziggler, who had been using it to time the match. Sadly, the buzzer sound came back with it. It was funny for the first couple of minutes, but 30 times is definitely a bit much. Number 6. This be my garden. Roman Reigns is no stranger to strong crowd reactions. He gets booed on his own and cheered with the Shield. Sadly, his mates are just way more popular than he is. But he has never been booed harder than on the Raw after WrestleMania 33, where he had defeated The Undertaker into retirement so badly, he's already back. Reigns came out on Raw, microphone in hand, but was prevented from speaking for several minutes as the crowd booed, chanted, "F*** you, Roman, shut the f*** up, and please retire" at him. Like a dairy farmer fallen on hard times, he milked it for all that it was worth, not saying a word and letting fans get it all out of their systems. Some 7 minutes after entering the ring, he finally spoke one single sentence. "This is my yard now," and walked to the back. It was bloody brilliant. Number 5. The Brock and Rock connection. In real life, Rock the Dwayne Johnson might just be our best hope for world peace. Everybody likes him and maybe we could all just bond over that fact. But back at SummerSlam 2002, that couldn't have been further from the truth. The Rock was about to ditch WWE to pursue his career in Hollywood, and fans were not happy because they'd all seen the Scorpion King. Lesnar had only been on television for a few months but had already destroyed the likes of Jericho, RVD and Hulk Hogan. In short, he was getting the sort of monster push that fans hate Roman Reigns for. Fortunately, the match against Dwayne stopped the fans from turning on him, unlike Roman. In fact, it was The Rock that they turned on, vocally rejecting him because he was going to leave and siding with Brock instead. That sounds very familiar. Fortunately, Dwayne is actually a fantastic actor, Scorpion King notwithstanding, and he subtly shifted himself into the role of a heel and modified his expressions, delivery of moves, and selling to reflect the way the crowd were reacting to him. Bloomin' brilliant. Number 4. Daniel Bryan. The Raw on the 9th of December in 2013 was a historic occasion for WWE, but not for the reasons they initially expected. The show featured the signing for the unification of the WWE Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship to end over a decade of split brand belts. The prestigious ceremony featured a who's who of former champions and a rousing speech from Triple H. But naturally, the crowd weren't completely convinced of the direction the company was taking and the current champions John Cena and Randy Orton. So they took it upon themselves to start chanting for who it was they actually wanted. CM Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan literally could not contain his glee, and then Mark Henry raised Bryan's hand, popping the crowd and setting off an absolutely monstrous yes chant. Naturally, WWE seized this moment to push Bryan right to the top. Or what actually happened was having Batista win the Rumble and turning Bryan heel and having him join the Wyatt family. Cool. Number 3, the Royal Rumble 2015. Which brings us to the Rumble 2015, a year after the Batista win, where everyone expected Bryan to be the last man standing with his hand raised in the air as if Mark Henry himself was holding it up. That did not happen. Instead, Bryan came in early, and he also left early. We then had the pleasure of Roman Reigns being speared directly into our eyeballs as he demolished everyone in sight. Then a bunch of monster heels came out and survived all the way to the end before the babyface hero in body armor shut them out of the ring for the win. As you can no doubt imagine, this is Roman Reigns after all, he was greeted by a cacophony of boos. Even an appearance from his cousin, Rock the Dwayne Johnson, could not quell the outrage. Some of the boos even fell upon The Rock, and nobody boos the Great One because it hurts his feelings. Reigns' current position of being hated by the WWE Universe all stems from this badly handled booking back in 2015. And despite the fact that no matter how hard he tries, he's not Daniel Bryan, is he? Number 2, Brock versus Bill. The first time ever meeting between Brock Lesnar and Bill Goldberg at WrestleMania 20 should have been a match for the ages. 2 unstoppable juggernauts not stopping all over each other. Brilliant. Except it wasn't. Unfortunately, word had leaked prior to the match that both men would be finishing with the company after the match. The loyal WWE crowd inside Madison Square Garden obviously objected to this and loudly booed the match, told both men that they knew what was going on behind the scenes. Chants of, "You sold out, boring," and even pleas for Hulk Hogan to make an appearance rang out around the arena before they settled on, "This match sucks," to really sum up their thoughts. And they were kind of right, it did suck. Sadly, the chants didn't do much to up the quality of the bout either, as both Brock and Bill struggled to keep it together and were visibly distracted by the response. Thankfully, there is hope in this story as the two finally met again some 13 years later and redeemed themselves in a brilliant little feud over a little thing called the Universal title. Number 1. Hogan versus The Rock. Few could have predicted the overwhelmingly positive reaction to Hulk Hogan's WWF return in 2002. We won't see something like that again, eh? But back in 2002, fans were surprisingly hot for the Hulkster's return, even though he had become something of a figure of hatred for the hardcore WCW fans, and definitely was not the performer he was at his peak. The running leg drop had kind of turned into a sauntering leg drop by that point. Weirdly though, the fans were just super happy to see him back inside his home ring, welcoming him back and forgiving him of all of his past sins. Doesn't work for future ones though, Hulk. So it was a showdown of the ages at WrestleMania 18 against The Rock, one of the hottest baby faces in the history of the company. So surely the fans would cheer Dwayne and boo the dastardly heel, Hollywood Hogan. Nope. It didn't happen. The Toronto crowd became unglued the moment Hogan stepped into the ring and were on his side for the entire match, attempting to boo The Rock out of the building and straight into a straight-to-DVD Scorpion King 2, which happened, but he wasn't in it. There has never been a match like it in terms of crowd reaction. Not the best wrestling, because Hogan, but man, the crowd were great. What are WWE doing with EC3? Find out in the first ever weekly NXT review with myself and Luke here on WrestleTalk, and give us a subscribe to stay up to date on all of the latest wrestling news. I've been Fakidor, and that was Lucha.